Hey everyone, Lionheart here. It's been a while. On today's video, I want to talk about my game, Spire, what you can do to help, and what I've been up to all this time. Wow, that felt good. That's how I used to do like my YouTube introduction videos. I just wanted to try the format again. It has been so long since I have put out a video on YouTube. That was like really exciting for me. Oh, but seriously, that is what this video is about. I want to talk about Spire, and we do need your help. So if you're open, if you like anime action games and you're open to hearing my story and why we need your help, and you want to dive into all of that, please stick around. If you're looking for the TLDR, because this is probably going to be a longer video, here it is. I would very much appreciate, and so would our team, if you would go to Steam, search for Spire, find it, download it, and tell us what you think. That's it. It's less than the price of a Taco Bell meal. It's $5. We have spent years working on this game. You should definitely get at least $5 of value from the game. If you don't, let me know. And play it and tell us what you think. That's what we need right now. We're trying to evaluate whether the core gameplay is good enough to continue the project and build out the rest of what we want and polish it so that it's really high quality, or if we should stop and find the next game, right? Move on, build something different. The only way we can know is if a lot of people play it, and then we look at the data and we read your reviews and feedback and find out. So please, 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 if you like anime games, or you like action roguelike games, or preferably you like both, look up the game, download it, and let me know. Okay? That's the TLDR. Here's the longer version. So, well, first, I guess maybe I'll just talk a little bit about who I am in case this video has somehow, crawled into your feed and you're like, who is this bald bearded man speaking to me right now on whatever platform you're watching this on. So my name is Brian, but I go by Lionheart online. It was a gamer handle I had. It was also my content creator handle. I used to stream on Twitch and make videos on YouTube and TikTok, both in 2012, which is how I got my start in game development, and in 2019 during the pandemic is sort of my way to connect with people and be social when we were all stuck indoors. So I've done it twice, and it's been fun both times. I love making content. I love meeting people. It's one of the joys of not only my career, but being on the internet. And I have several friends on Discord who, I've been friends with for over a decade, and I've never met in real life. I mean, it's a cool world we live in. And look, I mean, I made content on Twitch and all these places, and I think it was back in 2012 I started my career in game design. I was designing Smite with the then CEO of Hi-Res Studios, Erez Goran. Most of our design we did by email, crazy. And I ended up joining Hi-Res full-time in January of 2014 to help them build the studio. And back then there's had to be somewhere around like 50 people. And when I left in 2019, they were over 450 people. And I got to work on all kinds of cool things. I got to be a lead designer on Paladins. I worked on several R&D projects. I got to do business development, law, publishing, product management, game design. I mean, what a treat, right? 7 years of just learn by fire game development career, which really kind of equipped me to do what I set out to do in 2019, which is start my own game studio. And I founded Starmy with the idea that we would make anime games in the West. I love anime games. I love anime. They have been hugely influential on my life. And I really, Hi-Res is an awesome studio. I had a great time there, but like anime games isn't what they make. In fact, there's not really a lot of people in the West, other than some startups now and maybe Riot, who really work on anything close to anime games. They mostly come out of Eastern markets. And I really wanted to do that. And so I if you can't find it, build it, right? And so we started I started a game studio, and then raised money from Erez, who was my previous boss, to be able to hire a team and build anime games. And we did that in 2019. And then the pandemic hit, which sort of rocked our boat. Like immediately after starting the company, boom, there it was. And so we went full remote and sort of entered this exploratory phase of, what is the IP that we're going to build and what kind of games are we going to make? And pretty quickly, actually, I would say we settled on Dragonspire as the IP. We started building out that world. It was something that I was passionate about, that I really, really liked. And the theory was, I remember the early theory of it. It was like, what if we built this world called Asteria? Inside of and Dragonspire would be like the IP name, but the world itself would be Asteria. What if we built this world where like people went out and like found pets? It's like very Pokemon-ish, right? Like found like these really cool pets that ended up being their companions. I'm a huge dog fan of pit bulls. She's over there sleeping on the couch. Wait, hold on, coming to focus. Must love pit bulls. She's over there sleeping on the couch. She's wonderful. And I love pets. So I was like, this idea of like these pets could come, you could find them and build these relationships with them, but also like, oh, my phone alarm's going off. Never a video recorded without some kind of issue. Anyways, so I'm doing this and I'm like, okay, well, like I want pets, and what if these like pets like came out and did combat with you? But I want to make Pokemon, so I feel like a Pokemon trainer just kind of hangs back. Like, what if instead you were like a hero that had the power of like a servant from like the Fate series, right? You know what I mean? Like, so you in your own right could go out and do incredible combat, but also your companion would come out and join you, and you could collect like all different kinds of companions. And that was sort of the initial inspiration, believe it or not, for Dragonspire. I think the IP evolved a lot from that. I think we did a lot of different things and sort of built out the world and the characters and what it would mean. But the initial vision was like this like Pokemon meets Fate series type thing. Anyways, so we knew that we wanted to do that pretty early on. What we didn't know what we wanted to do was what kind of game we were going to make. And we had a few different projects in the early years that just didn't really pan out. They were either out of scope or we had trouble finding the fun. And it's a tricky thing, by the way, in game development when you try to find the fun. I think everyone probably has a different definition of that. But for me, when you're making a game and your team like loves it, like you can tell, right? It's not that they like, everybody will tell you they love it and they're passionate or whatever, but like if they're like playing it, like you catch them like they should be working what they're playing the game, or they're like talking about like the game, not how it's going to be built or work that they have to do, but like parts that they love and things that they're really enjoying, like during lunches or stuff like that. That's when you know you have something good. And we were really searching for that, and we tried to build several different versions of Dragonspire on mobile. That was our original target market. Apple canceled IDFA, and there was sort of this user acquisition problem that was starting to develop, and to some extent it really still exists in the game industry. And we decided, okay, mobile was going to require more capital than we had. It wasn't going to be a viable path. And so in going through sort of all of our different prototypes on mobile, we came up with almost the core of what we have today, which was like, hey, we want to build a really cool anime action roguelike. And this was actually before ZZZ was even announced. Now it seems like a no-brainer to build something like that, right? I feel like Hoyoverse coming out with a game that's competitive almost validates what you're interested in trying to some extent. This was even before ZZZ was announced, where we were like, okay, we're going to build this. And the idea is, the thesis behind it is this. There are sort of two categories in roguelike, right? There's more than that, but I'm oversimplifying for a second. There's the single player games, right? Which tend to be all kinds of experiences, but there are some really fun, like action, isometric experiences, right? And then there are the multiplayer experiences, which are typically shooters. I don't know why, but they just are. They're typically very shooter focused in the roguelike genre, right? You think like Gunfire Reborn or Risk of Rain, something like that, right? So we were like, well, what if we made sort of like you think of like a world-class single player roguelike, Hades, right? Hades is so good. What if we made that kind of combat fun experience of Hades, but that you could play with your friends, multiplayer, right? And that was sort of the thesis behind Dragonspire. And we built that on the phone, showed it at TwitchCon, and got really good reception, like positive net promoter score. We had a few big content creators play it. They had positive things to say. We had lots of other people who were just attending the conference play it. It was awesome. It was a really like cool experience. We didn't even get a booth because we didn't have the money for that. We just walked around with like t-shirts. I think it said like anime roguelike asked me to play something like that. And we had the phones, like we must have looked crazy. We had like at least 30 phones, just like they were just pulling out of our pockets, handing to people, and like, you know, watching them play and talking to them about the game. So really cool experience, and sort of validated that like this was the game we wanted to make. And then we decided, because as I talked about, the mobile market was so difficult, we were going to convert it and build it for PC first. And that if we could build a really good experience on PC with the players there, we could expand that, because we were doing a top-down camera view, to consoles, to mobile at a later date, and still create a really good high-quality experience with cross-play and cross-platform, which is, I think, probably how everybody should be thinking about games if you have the capabilities to do it. So that's what we did. And we built this PC version. It was really cool. We found a publisher who was interested in it. We spent several months talking to them, and we were all the way to the finish line where all we needed was like a rubber stamp to do the whole game with them. And their whole game publishing division just kind of ended. And that was a really hard moment, I think, for us and the team, because it was, we knew we were sort of like up against the ropes. And we lost out. They just decided, I don't know, the version that came back, I can't talk about who it is because it's under NDA, but the version that came back to me was basically they didn't think anime games could be mainstream, and they didn't want to do it. And then they ended up not doing really anything, as far as I know, with games. So that sucks. They had an audience of like several 100 million. It would have been amazing. A great opportunity for us. Didn't happen. But we don't roll over when life throws us something difficult. We keep going, right? We persevere. And so our team decided, okay, no worries. We're going to make this version ourselves on PC, and we're going to release it ourselves, and we'll sort of get data back that way. And so in 6 months, you can't make this stuff up. In 6 months, we took all the art we built, all sort of the prototypes we had built, and we built a minimum viable that we released into Steam Early Access, which is the Dragon Spire version I'm asking you to play now. And inside that version, we created an open map with 3 regions. It's got 3 bosses that you have to fight, 1 in each region. And then it culminates with this battle with a very powerful boss, a dragon, that is sort of the final boss inside the saga. And as you clear this map and move around, there's different points of interest that can help make you stronger. And you'll also do roguelike drafting, where you're able to like draft these different power-ups and come up with all these builds. And you've done this, right? You played a roguelike, you understand like the idea behind it is each time you play, your build is a little different, your experience is a little different, and so therefore you're sort of hunting for that moment of like, okay, I've either discovered or been able to repeat this overpowered build that I came up with for myself, or I'm searching for like the next thing, or I'm having a crappy run, right? It's only fun if there are highs and lows, right? So you have the runs where like you get like the really good build and you feel super OP and everything's come in right, and then there's the lows where it's like nothing comes together, you're like, God, this sucks, like I'm just gonna go die to this mob and then move on, right? Like that that ends up being the experience, but that's like part of the fun, right? And then the games are typically pretty hard. There's a skill component. You need to understand how to fight the bosses. They're usually the most challenging, but even some of the mobs in the world, right? They're very hard at first, then you learn how they work, and then they become much easier. So that's what we built. We built that out. We layered in a very simple gold progression system, which isn't even the final system we wanted. We had a really cool system with like the pet collection. It was like, I could talk about this for like an hour. I'll just try to give you like the short version. But the short version was like you go out there and you would collect these like pets. They actually drop as eggs, and you would incubate the egg, hatch the egg, and then the pet would come out, and you'd get this discovery moment. And the pets were like, if you play like Genshin, it's almost like artifacts or Honkai Star Rail like relics, where like the pets had like random roll substats, and then also like a primary type, and they would assist you in battle. They'd come out to battle and fight with you, and then you would also have like gear that you would equip, and then your characters would have like different abilities abilities that they could swap in and out, and then during your like actual drafting, you'd be able to augment those abilities. We had all this cool stuff planned. Anyways, none of that made it into this version. Sorry to say, that's like future planned content. But since we didn't have any of that, we still needed some layer of progression and power to let you be stronger and sort of conquer through brute force some of the mechanics. And so we just put in a very simple gold system. And I do apologize for those of you who go on to play the game. It is grindier than I would have wanted it to be, the gold system, but we have done a lot to make that much easier on you. We've massively boosted the gold drop rates, and I'll get more into that in a little bit. So anyways, so we build Dragon Spire, right? We build this game. 6 months, right? Minimum viable core gameplay. Looking good, right? We got the drafting system. We got 7 playable characters. There's the bosses. It looks sweet, right? We go to launch it. Hold on, I need a sip of coffee before I even say this. We go to launch it and we fail. We fail miserably. Our back end doesn't work. It can't hold more than 50 concurrent players without crashing and ruining everybody's game instance. Their drafting breaks. They can no longer earn gold. Sometimes they're completely kicked out of the match. Totally unstable. I mean, just crap. If I gotta be honest, just crap. And the person who was responsible for it, they spent a week trying to fix it after we launched, and they weren't able to resolve the problems. And at the same time, we knew going into it that we were sort of, we needed to deliver, right? That experience needed to be good. It needed to have a lot of players. They needed to like it, and so we missed, right? Like the people who were looking forward to the game, our core community, they actually loved it. It just didn't work, right? They were like, when it works, it's good. It's just not working, and that sucks. And also we had another problem where, because the servers were unstable, we weren't able to put them up in enough regions as we had originally planned, because we wanted to stabilize them before adding more regional coverage. And so people were not only dealing with unstable servers, but if you didn't live in North America, your connection to our service was horrible, right? It was high latency in a game that's high skill, very difficult, and that doesn't create a good experience. And so you know, we ended up getting mixed reviews on Steam, and you know, after a week of trying to solve the problem, we had to shut down. And you know, I'm extremely grateful to our investor. I think if he could have given us the time to fix those issues, he would have. But the reality is, the games market right now is not in a good place. There are studio closures every week. Lots of people are unemployed right now. All the companies are sort of, you know, batting down the hatches for the storm and cutting back, doing layoffs, because revenue's down after the spike that was created by the pandemic. And it's sort of an ugly place. And our investor, you know, he had backed several companies that were startups. Most of the startups had to close. It's you know, he's focused on his core business now and his game studio. And you know, we weren't the only one who had to close. There were other companies as well. So really unfortunate. Probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do is sharing that news with my team, which we did last month. And when you put that much of yourself into something for several years and it doesn't work out, it is soul crushing. And it's even worse because you feel like you let everybody down who worked on the project. Anyway, look, things aren't always going to work out, and you come to terms with it, and you know, you take a minute or two or however long you need to grieve, and then you move forward. And when this happened, and I'm very grateful to Bozo, it's his handle. I am not making fun of him, but he wishes to remain private. But one of my software engineers, Bozo, who's a friend and a partner in business now, and Hannah Grace, who was our HR person, who decided she wanted to make a career transition into visual effects. She really liked it, wanted to get back into creative, and has been doing VFX. That the two of them, along with several other volunteers from the team, decided to work with me to strip out our unstable backend technology and convert Dragonspire into a single player offline game so that we could get the answer to one simple question. Did we make a good core game experience? Yes or no? You need closure. You know, when you put that much of yourself into something, you need closure. And so for the last 5 weeks, give or take, we have been working voluntarily to convert Dragonspire over to offline single player. And we were successful and launched it this last Friday. And not only did we convert it into offline single player, but we also added a lot of content. We filled out all the rest of the elements so that the drafting system was more robust. We added 2 new bosses. We got our trials working trials is like a practice mode where you're able to fight bosses in advance without any of your roguelike drafting, so you can learn their mechanics because they're fairly complex, and also a place for you to test your true skill, right? Without drafting, can you beat it in a time trial fashion to earn these stars that then make your overall account more powerful, right? By a small amount, but together collectively meaningful. And yeah, so we did that, and now we need your help because obviously, since we did it on a volunteer basis over the last 5 weeks, we have no money. We cannot afford to do any kind of a user acquisition or marketing campaign. We have to rely completely on word of mouth and people telling each other about the game's existence and having them come in and play it. And if we can get, you know, we're not talking like millions. We don't need millions of people like the big pre-registration campaigns you see. Although if we had millions of people, I'd probably lose my mind joyfully over that. That would be cool. But we just need like several thousand people to come in, download Dragonspire, and play it. And that will tell us what we need to know. And in the game industry, you may not know this, but a lot of things are actually very heavily driven by analytics in terms of, is a game healthy or not? And depending on where your game is and what level of development it's at, you're measuring different things, right? But for where we're at, where it's a minimum viable, right? It's not the full game. The polish is still missing. Lots of features are still missing. But the core gameplay, what you would do, it's there, right? Is that fun or not is measured by a metric called day one retention, which is basically, if you install the game, do you come back and play it again the next day, right? If something's fun, usually you want to do it the next day. You ever have like peanut butter and jelly after not having it for a while, and then you're like, the next day you're like, man, I really want peanut butter and jelly again. Or any food, right? Maybe you don't like PB&J, but like any food, right? Where you just like have something, you really enjoyed it and you're like, I want that again tomorrow. That's sort of how the games industry measures games, right? This game has a chance at doing well if people play it and then they're like, that was so much fun, I gotta play it again tomorrow. And lots of games live or die on that metric, no joke, especially in early testing and soft launch. So that's what we're measuring. We're trying to see if you play our game, is that core experience that we built fun enough and satisfying enough for you to come back tomorrow? And, you know, we want that feedback to sort of bring us closure, where if the answer to that question is yes, more people, or a lot of people, it doesn't necessarily need to be more than not, but a lot of people feel that way and do play the next day, then probably we can find a path to continue the project. I can use that to meet with publishers and other investors to try and continue Dragonspire and build out the full game that we've envisioned. That's sort of, you know, my dream, you know, to fulfill, is right, the anime game studio, or not, right? And I can live with knowing that like the journey ended because we didn't build a great game, but it's hard to not know. And so that's what we're trying to find out. So if anime action roguelike looks like your jam, just go to the Steam page, Dragonspire, watch some videos, look at the footage, read about the game. If that game sounds like a game you'd enjoy, please, please, please play it. And tell anyone who you think will enjoy it to play it, right? Friends, people you know, online communities. If there's a content creator you really like who you think it's their kind of game, please share it with them and ask them to play it, right? And again, we're just trying to get to like a few thousand. That lets us know, right? Probably don't ask people to play it who you know won't like it. Like there's like a tendency, you're the best kind of people, by the way, but there's a tendency for like really kind people to be like, I'm gonna get everyone to play it, right? If you have a friend who like, you know, only plays military shooters, right? They like Call of Duty and you know, Counter-Strike, and that's all they play. They don't ever play anime games. They don't ever play roguelike games. Don't have them play our game, right? If somebody who's not in our target audience plays our game, they're definitely not coming back the next day, and it will actually hurt more than it will help. But if there's people you know who you feel like this game is for them and they'd like it, they'd like this kind of game, please have them play it. And let's just see, right? I don't want any kind of dirty data, if that's a phrase, or like dishonest metrics, right? Like I want people to genuinely come in and try it. And if they like it, come back. And if they don't. And hopefully the people who do like it leave positive reviews. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But like, you know, that's what we want to see. We want to know, did we build a good game or not? And if we did, we're gonna go out there and fight for it and fight to be able to complete the vision and build the whole thing, and hopefully have an anime game studio here in North America that can last for decades and can continue to build really fun anime game experiences. That's my dream. And this is probably our last shot at doing that. And your help is instrumental. I can't do it myself. I can't, no matter how much I play, you know, I can't do it. I need help. I need your help. And it would mean the world to me and our team to have you by our side, trying this game and spreading the word and helping us get more people to try the game so that we can learn if it's good. Whew, heavy, right? We're all in. It's heavy. And thanks, you know, thanks for watching this far and for even thinking about doing that. And, you know, I really appreciate that. Look, if you have questions about the game, you got stuck. The game's pretty hard. We made a hard game. If you have any questions about it, you get stuck or anything, you just want to talk with me or give feedback, I am on our Discord every day, discord.gg/Dragonspire. I'm also very active on Twitter, or the X app, I guess. My handle there is Lionheart, which was my content creator handle, which is why I opened the video the way I did. So please, you know, engage with me there, talk to me, let me know. And really, this is my plea to you to help us spread the word on Dragonspire and our sort of our last chance. Cool. So look, I don't know what's next for me. I said, I think in this video that I would talk about that. I actually don't know. I'm really focused on trying to get this going. I did apply for an accelerator, a second chance at an anime game studio. And so we'll see if that works out. It'd be really cool if it did. And, you know, other than that, I'm not really sure. I'm sort of trying to figure out what makes sense for me in game development. And I'm really hoping that this can go well. If it doesn't, you know, who knows? Maybe I'll be hanging out on Twitch and YouTube and TikTok again for a little while I sort of figure it out and probably make experiences. You know, I'm not getting out of game development. I love making games. I can't get out. I'm addicted. I'm addicted to making games. So there's definitely more coming from me one way or the other. And just the question is, am I able to make the anime games that I want to make, or am I working on other games which I will probably love just as much? It's just not sort of front of mind at this exact moment. So I don't know. But if you want updates, those two places that I mentioned, our Discord and on Twitter, are probably the best places to get those from me. And just thanks for coming by and watching my video and hanging out again. All right. This video is already longer than I intended, so I am going to get out of here. But closing message, go to Steam. For less than the price, I just bumped the mic. Go to Steam for less than the price of a Taco Bell meal. I don't know why that's my metric, but it is. You can get Dragonspire, and I promise you, it should deliver on enough entertainment, you know, for what it costs. and let us know, right? Let us know if we did a good job, and hopefully we did. And if you liked it, definitely leave a positive review. Helps a ton. So, all right, I'm out of here, and I hope to see you in Dragon Spire or wherever else life takes us. See ya.